So, for International Women's Day 2020, we spoke to some really inspiring and honestly very fun people who spoke to us about their views on the theme this year and the progress that we've made. So they spoke about generation equality, each for equal, and they told us about their experiences and how equality and inequality for that matter has actually affected their lives and what they've done to change it. So keep watching this video and see what they have to say, and let us know what you think.
I think now more than ever, we're realizing the incredibly inequitable world we live in, an incredibly inequitable country that is divided along lines of caste, class, religion, gender, a person's ability, name, language, region. And within our diversity, there is a great need to strive not only as a society to come together, but also come together in smaller spaces like our homes. So for me, each for equal means that every single person needs to start taking responsibility for the position that they occupy in this hierarchy, in this structure that we might not propagate, but as a privileged person, we definitely benefit from. We need to start asking ourselves some tough questions, and that starts at home. So when it comes to gender, you need to ask, are there different rules for your mother than there are for your father? Are you giving the informal labor that you employ the rights that she deserves? Are you enabling sort of sexist jokes or behavior amongst your friend groups? As a woman, I know that I do immense emotional labor that a lot of my male friends don't. It has taken me years to start believing myself. I think we are the generation that needs to change things. We've inherited a broken system, and we need to start talking about it, and we need to start fixing it, because I don't think anybody else is going to do that for us.
Hi, okay, so Women's Day is coming up, and this time's theme is Each for Equal. So I remember when I just started working 3 years back, that in my team of 100 people, there were just 3 women. And a couple of the compliments that I was getting from everybody there was that it was so amazing that as a girl I could do all these tasks, or as a girl I was so game with the timings, or as a girl I could accomplish so much. And although this, yes, was a compliment, it just showed the fact that the as a girl created such a disparity in gender between the rest of the team and the 3 women in the team. And I think just these small instances show how much inequality still exists in our community. And this might be such a small example, but I just see it in so many other ways around us as well. And since then, I think very consciously, I've been trying to empower myself and empower other women around me whenever possible. And I just think it's very important to treat this as a very serious matter, and all of us just have to do our part in empowering each other and bringing about equality in our daily lives.
So when it comes to gender, I think equality isn't about necessarily having the same rights for everyone, but instead taking into consideration the differences and diversity in individuals and communities, and accordingly approaching the idea of granting access and rights in an egalitarian manner. So for me, equality means that women and men at the lowest stratas of society are paid fairly for the work that they do. It means that cities are planned in such a manner that takes into account safety for all individuals. For me, it means that trans men and trans women and individuals who are gender non-conforming or are on the wide spectrum of gender transitioning are treated as human beings first, rather than having to prove that they've had surgery to fit neatly into these categories of male and female in order to prove their citizenship. Furthermore, for me, it means that women are taken seriously when it comes to reclaiming public spaces and voicing their opinions. Equality means that, therefore, women are considered and perceived as equal citizens of the state who can, should, and do have a say in the political arena of the nation. For me, equality means an equal right to education for all individuals, regardless of age, gender, caste, class, race, or ethnicity. And it means that women should not be asked at interviews whether they plan to have a family or they're married, and therefore that their success should in any way be capped because they plan to have a family. And lastly, equality means to me that regardless of these categories of age, class, caste, gender, ethnicity, or disability, that individuals' complaints against sexual harassment or rape are taken seriously, and that justice is served in a manner which reforms the society that we live in.
Happy Almost Women's Day, everyone. I thought I would reflect a little on this year's theme, which is generation equality, realizing women's rights. Not going to lie, for the first few seconds when I learned about the theme, the thought that popped into my head was, what is there left to realize? In this day and age, isn't everyone aware of women's rights? And the obvious answer is no. I don't think it was until a couple of years ago when I realized what women's rights truly meant. It was harder for me, and many of you would agree with this. Growing up in a culturally complex place such as India really taints your perception of equality. And the cultural and social norms put in place really make you believe that what women experience, the way women are treated, women's position in society is valid. Only in my teenage years, and because of the exposure I had gained or because of the movements that were going on in the West, I started to realize that there is something very, very wrong here. These norms normalize violence against women. Such norms define and cap women's economic growth or women's health status. Such norms normalize behavior and actions that shouldn't exist in the first place. So even though generation equality in theory is understood by many, it never really translates into action. So I guess this Women's Day is a perfect time to question what you know about equality, realize what equality actually means to you, and voice or even demand for the rights that you think you're entitled to. Speak to your elders, speak to the people who don't understand. It's in the hands of this generation to shatter such outdated patriarchal social and cultural norms that have absolutely no place in the 21st century. And I guess the most important thing to take away from all of this would be that this is not just a battle that women are fighting alone. The society as a whole needs to come together and support the women and basically give them something that should have been theirs in the first place. I guess that's what equality is, and that's what this year's theme represents and enables. Once again, happy Women's Day, everyone.
Hi, I'm Neha and I wish you a very happy International Women's Day. Now today I'm talking about equality. But why am I talking about equality? I am privileged enough, educated enough and independent enough. Why should I be talking about equality in the first place? Well, as a woman, I still need the right to equal pay. I still need my opinions to be treated in the same way and not to be painted in the color of gender every time. I still need to not feel the urge of breaking the glass ceiling every time and proving my worth again and again. I still need to feel safe while I'm doing regular chores, like grocery shopping, or just walking on the road, or just being home alone. Is it too much to ask for?
When I think about Women's Day, I always think about how, as a very happily out gay man in India, the life I live would not have been possible had it not been for the female relationships in my life and how much they mean to me. Is particularly in being able to navigate a very hypermasculine, very toxic, very heteronormative world. That being said, I also know that equality as a general concept is being attacked from all sides, from all fronts in our country right now and in the world right now. And an attack on any one person's rights is really an attack on all of our rights, because all of these issues are intersectional. Women's rights, our Muslim rights, our queer rights. As if someone's not getting anything, if someone is getting less than what they deserve, then it's up to us as people who were born into the privileged parts of society to start working on rectifying that problem. And it does start small. It starts in our everyday interactions. It's about calling out that one sexist coworker. It's about helping your parents stop using gendered language. It's about not being afraid to call someone out, whether that's in a public space or private space. It's about spending the time and energy to explain to people why maybe the things that they're saying are extremely inappropriate or wrong. um, and this is just purely based on social interactions, but there's obviously a lot more work to do. I do have so much faith in our generation, though. I think we will be the ones who will have to start fixing the holes in the world that, well, we're kind of walking into, because that's just, we were born into a very tricky time and we've inherited a lot of very tricky situations, and we don't have a choice. I myself try to maybe raise a little bit of attention towards things that I'm passionate about in public consciousness through art, but that's not enough either. There's just a lot of work to be done, and I think Women's Day is just a positive reminder that we're on our way, but we need to start working much harder and getting there faster. And I have utmost faith that we're going to be the ones to do it.
When I think about inequality in general, the first thing that usually comes to my mind is the idea of oppression. And I believe that oppression stems from complacency, privilege, and prejudice. Now, a lot of people tend to overlook the fact that this is a very historically rooted issue. And in order to move away from that pattern that history has kind of reinforced on us, we need to move away from those ideas of oppression. I truly believe that there are many households where certain stereotypes are still reinforced on women, where they are meant to believe that there is a certain way in which they are supposed to behave. They are morally policed. And this happens not only in the household, but is also reinforced by society and the way they have to relate to themselves with a patriarchal magnifying glass constantly on them. That goes hand in hand with the stereotype of the hyper-masculine man, which has been reinforced in society and in households for so long. And it is this toxic masculinity that has led to so much violence, of course, against women, because that is rampant, but also by men against men. And these notions need to start being broken down. These oppressive ideas that consistently attempt to govern what defines masculine or what defines feminine without any sensitivity with regards to gender. And these are notions that have consistently held back movements like the women's rights movement or the queer rights movement, which are only going to increase the standard of living, not just in this country, but all over the world. So I believe that men are privileged. They are complacent, and the ones who are not prejudiced need to start using platforms like this. The ones who are not complacent need to start initiating dialogue, so that the vast majority of people who haven't started thinking about or initiating dialogue with regards to this are exposed to ideas like this. Both men and women need to start talking about this more, and I think this is a great platform to do something like that on. So yeah.
Each for equal. Well, this is quite trending on social media, as it's the new theme for International Women's Day 2020. But I believe rather than just being a hashtag, we should be doing more about it. Feeling it every day, being treated equally, feeling we are equal in the society. Although it's difficult to change to bring, it's not impossible. Because in everyday lives, the little incidences we face every day, starting from girls going out late at night or coming in late at home, is considered a no-no and a spot on the character, because time defines the character. Whereas for guys, it's perfectly fine, that's okay, because nobody bothers when they enter the house. Similarly, for working women who have to travel outside their own hometown or city, they need to give double thoughts and have guilt trips on how they could leave their children, husband or family behind. Whereas for men, it's pretty normal because they indeed have to travel for work. Similarly, for guys, they have been given a buffer time for having to marry at ease, at pleasure, at leisure. But for women, right after they finish their undergraduation or post-graduation, they are set off to get married and are married away in some different house. It should not be that way, because women put in as much efforts for studying, for working, and should be given equal time to become financially independent as much as the men do get.
So these are a few of my thoughts for this International Women's Day, and hope we march ahead in this regard in each for equal. Each for equal. Happy Women's Day.
Hello everyone, and wishing you all a very happy International Women's Day. So the hashtag for this year is hashtag each for equal. And I think that it's actually a very great hashtag because it encompasses something that we've been trying to communicate for a very long time, which is that there's strength in numbers. And until all of us really want something to happen, change is very difficult to come about. And I think that a lot of efforts are being made around the world by everyone. And I'd just like to say that everyone should keep those efforts up because really, we are the metamorphosis generation, like we are generation equal. And I 100% believe that because I think that especially from the society and culture that we come from, it's the everyday changes that we make in our families, in our friends that actually impact the movement in the greatest as a whole. You know, it's the small things of redefining what our society thinks that a good girl or a woman truly is. Because what is she? She's just a person. Let her be who she is. I think I'd like to take this Women's Day to congratulate everybody who has these little victories every day that nobody sees. Everyone who has changed the way that their parents think, who has changed the way that their family thinks. I think that if we combined all of those together, eventually we would have a whole different country, a whole different world, a world that's more receptive to women, and that's what we're trying to do. So you go girls, keep it up everyone, and happy International Women's Day again.